Hey, Ellis County, Kevin Crouch here, and I wanted to sit down and have a conversation about the almost embarrassing lack of rain that we have had in the past 6 or so months here in this area. And, you know, I was looking at the numbers this morning. We've only had just over 9 inches of rain for the year. I mean, my Lord, that's just nothing. I am here with Mr. John Paul Dineen, who as far as I can tell, is the leading expert in Ellis County on farming and ranching and everything agriculture. So I know he's got really good products there at the Yellow Farmhouse too. So we'll give him a chance to kind of promote all of that here at the end of the conversation. But Mr. Dineen, I just want to talk a little bit about how the year's looking for you and kind of how you're preparing for summer. I've been talking a lot about how my hope was that maybe we would catch up on some rain this spring before we got into the summer months, which are just notoriously hot and dry. But May has decided to just hit the road here, and apparently severe weather season just came to an abrupt end, which the good news is, less severe weather. The bad news is less precipitation. So where are you at as far as your kind of preparations, and not only having come off of a kind of a negative rain environment and then going into the summer?
Sure. Well, thanks for letting me chat with you today, and howdy all to the Ellis County weather fans there. So, to get where we are, you always kind of have to go back a little bit. So where we are in our crop, that started, in the winter time last Thanksgiving with our wheat. May or may not have seen the notice that the USDA, United States Department of Agriculture, put out worst wheat crop in 20 years. A lot of that's because of lack of rainfall. We really didn't have any notable rainfall from Thanksgiving through Valentine's Day, like you talked about. Now, going forward, and you talk about, 9 inches of rain and not looking like there's a whole lot, coming ahead. So, historically, we get our runoff rain to fill up tanks and things like that earlier in the spring. Usually when May comes around, it's kind of hard to start getting rain, especially in June. It's hard. You can't buy rain. And to expect runoff rain, in May and June is not very normal. Why do I say all that? Well, maybe you've got some ponds on your place that you use for drinking water for your horses, your lambs, your livestock, things like that. Chances are they're probably not full, probably a little bit low. Chances are we're not going to get runoff rain at this point in the year to fill those up. So what does that mean for you? Well, just kind of be thinking ahead, be thinking of maybe another source of water. If it continues down this path, do you have community water that you can hook up or something like that? A lot of folks have to haul water. So just kind of be thinking about that, water troughs, that kind of stuff. The other thing you want to keep in mind, as that tank water gets lower, those animals have to go further into it to access that water. And a lot of times you get into silt and stuff from over the years, and it gets pretty boggy. So you create another problem that you're going to have to watch for, is your animals getting down in there and getting stuck, and they can die from getting stuck in that muck down in there trying to access that water. So that's something you kind of want to keep an eye on, especially if you've got some cows or some animals that got a little age on them. They're not going to be as strong, and something like that can really pull them down, kind of quick. If you've got animals, if we're talking about breeding pairs that are nursing and raising something up, you want to kind of keep in mind, maybe you're not going to be able to raise that animal, that calf, as big as you thought, because it's pulling on that mama. She's starting to kind of lose weight, which is normal, nothing alarming about that. But what you got to remember is, as we enter these drier months, there's not as much ready food supply for her to replenish. So she's going to lose a little bit quicker. So you kind of have to make decisions of when to pull that off, supplement feed, all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of things that can go along when the weather turns.
I mean, I'm looking at the U.S. Drought Monitor. It tells us that we're in severe drought conditions, and we've got extreme drought that's creeping up from the southwest, and I'm pretty sure we'll be probably I wouldn't be too surprised, unfortunately, if we're looking at exceptional drought by the time we get to August. uh I don't know, what the next couple of months are going to bring. I know that the Weather Prediction Center right now, their outlooks, their 8 to 14 day outlooks, are saying, above normal temperatures and drier than normal conditions. So I mean, there's really no end in sight, at least at this point. We got a chance of rain coming up on Saturday, but that's a very small potential at this point. So what are some things that you will be doing to, obviously you have a lot of different land, a lot of different things that you're doing, and so what are the steps that you're taking right now to get prepared for those dry 3 months? And like I say, it's got to be when you're already coming off of a low rain event, and normally, like I said, in the spring, we're kind of, this is the time when we can store up your reserves and those kind of things. It's a biblical concept, right? Build up for those times of famine in times of great prosperity. But we haven't had a whole lot of that to begin with. So are you having to go to some measures that you don't normally have to resort to?
So you're exactly right. You want to kind of think ahead, and you want to start stocking up. Okay. And so what that means for us is, hey, okay, that's your number one thing that you've got to get, stocked up to get you through these things. Because you may be feeding, through June or July, August, you may be having a supplemental feed, year round, depending on your stocking rates. So that is something that you want, whether for us, we bale our own hay. I call it, we're out chasing hay. So we're looking at fields that maybe we would like them to be a little thicker, a little better. Maybe they've got, some weed pressure or something. All that kind of goes out the window when you're feeling like, drought is coming on. You don't get as picky. It's kind of like when you get hungry, you're not quite as picky. Those cheese and crackers look pretty good, or that peanut butter sandwich looks pretty good. And, it is something to carry you by until things get a little better. So, for you, look at, your hay supply, where you've got, small square bales or big round bales or whatever. Look at what you're going to be thinking you're going to need. Add a little extra to that, to what you think you're going to normally need. Add some numbers to that. Start shopping around. I certainly get folks don't really like to buy the first cutting because it may have a little extra weeds in it or something like that. Second cutting is usually cleaner. Probably wouldn't advise that this year. Don't have a crystal ball or anything like that. But I farmed through the early 90s and the drought of 96 and 08 and 11. And, I'll have to tell you, sitting through a dry winter and these storms that come through, where I was, this last storm, we got a half inch. Now, I know down towards Ennis and Avalon and things like that, they got 3.5 inches. And that was a huge blessing for those folks. But it wasn't very general. I think general was a lighter sense. And so when you start kind of not getting those rains, you start thinking about, stocking up and everything. And that's just going to be important. And it's going to be expensive, because the longer that you wait and the less hay that there is, the more that price is going to go up, because they're going to have to ship it in from somewhere. And like you talked about that drought monitor, it's going to be a long ways off, because there's not really a garden spot in Texas that's going to have just a lot of hay to send. It may have to come from out of state.
Now, have you experienced any supply chain issues prior to this that might be compounding with the coming drought concerns or anything like that?
As far as supply chain, not necessarily. We've just started getting into the hay season. Certainly getting access to, hay parts, cutter parts, stuff like that has slowed down. Haven't run in, at least with the equipment that I run, to an actual I can't get. It may take a week to get instead of 2 days, something like that. But the biggest thing, the biggest single factor is the fuel, because you're looking at about $5.50 a loaded mile to truck something in there, maybe even a little bit higher. And so when you start adding that to a bale of hay, and just, keep in mind that those bales are kind of bulky. If you've got a pretty good size 53-foot float, you can put about 34 bales on there. Some trucks will be stretched that haul hay, specialized. Maybe they can haul 38 rolls, but you start dividing, 550 a mile into 34 round bales, that doesn't go, very far. And you can have $20, $30 in just shipping costs before you ever buy the hay in there. So that's probably the biggest limitation to moving hay around.
That sounds about right. So, if you'll give us a little bit of a kind of a synopsis of what you're working on right now, what folks can, whatever you want to, promote, how folks can find your products and how they can keep up with your work representing agriculture in Texas.
Sure. So, I've got myself, just John Paul Dineen on Facebook. My hashtag is Texas Agriculture Story. I try and tell the story of us through Texas agriculture, whether it's fixing something or, harvesting crops or selling our The Yellow Farmhouse products. That is our business page because we live in a yellow farmhouse. We are big advocators for sourcing and investing your food dollar locally, whether that's with us or other folks. We're big proponents of the downtown farmers market. There is a good group of folks there that we encourage y'all to come out and see on Saturdays, and bring your shopping list. You can get most of your proteins there. You can get beef and pork and chicken and milk and vegetables and breads, soaps, all kind of your basic things. And you're investing with those people, those ones behind that counter, those kids behind the counter. That's who you're investing your money with.
Well, John Paul Dineen, thank you so much for sitting down and talking to me a
You're
little bit
welcome.
about this. I'm sure we'll have future conversations with you.
Sure.
As we go into the summer, folks, make sure that you're prepared for this, whether that means you're making farming and agricultural changes or just trying to keep up with your front yard. Make sure that you're staying ahead of this. We're getting started with the dry, warm months early this year. So keep that in mind. And usually in Texas, September has kind of become part of summer. So, it may be October before we have cool temperatures again. So we'll hang in there. And we're Texans. We're built for this. So we can survive it, and just make sure that you're ready. Thank you again for talking to us, and
Yes,
we'll
sir.
see you all soon.
Thank you.